In this video, I will be covering the GT Ultra Exits Indicator. Now, this is a little bit involved, so bear with me. So, there are three features in the GT Ultra Exits Indicator that are really useful. The first feature is the colorized price line. The colorized price line lets you trade without candles but retaining the colorized candle color from the Titan GT indicator. To set up the colorized price line, it is set up on the line with markers chart. So if you want to see the candles at any time, you can simply click on the candles chart and this will also show you the candles. So what I've done is on the line with markers chart, I've simply gone into the settings, I've gone into symbol and I've simply turned down the line opacity to 0. And I've enabled the show colorized price line. So that's how this chart has been set up. Now, to show the next stuff, which is the exit management, I'm simply going to disable this and I'm going to go into the candlestick chart because it's easier to demo it there. Now, the exit management has something called trade instructions. Trade instructions simply let you know to stay out of the trade when an exit signal has triggered in case you're looking for another re-entry. So it will keep you honest. So for example, here we have an exit signal that's triggered. If I were to replay this and go back over here, with the trade instructions enabled, it's saying exit signal triggered, wait for next trade design. Let's say the exit signal has not triggered. What else will that thing do for me? Well, if the exit signal has not triggered yet, it will let me know where my take profit target is. Well, how do we set up the take profit target? This is where things get really interesting. So I'm going to first show you how the Titan GT Ultra indicator works because it works slightly differently to Titan GT. I'm going to set this update interval to 1 minute. Now, here we are about to get a trade design and a trade design has not signaled yet. So now we have a trade design and now it's saying wait for candle close. So in Titan GT Ultra, the entry point for the trade design will follow the candle until it closes. So as the candle moves around, the entry point is going to move around until the candle closes and confirms. So here the candle has closed or it's going to close if I just forward it once. So the candle has closed there and a trade design is confirmed and the entry point will no longer move around. Right, so that is the new thing in Titan GT Ultra. It will also give you a quicker trade design and you also have a better risk profile. You're less likely to get stopped out. Okay, now moving on to the GT Ultra exits. So we wanted to talk about how to set up this or how this current take profit target is set up. Well, GT Ultra has three types of take profit signals that you can use. You have the predictive levels, you have a risk to reward ratio, and you have a trailing exit. So if this thing is set to predictive levels, what it's going to do is it's going to find a predictive level between these two risk to reward ranges. So it's looking for a predictive level between a 1 to 1 and a 2 to 1 and it's going to use the first level it finds between these two risk to reward ranges. So there is a predictive level at a 1.1 to 1 here and this is the level it's found and it's setting the take profit to be slightly below that level. And this is because we don't want to target right at that level. We just want to target slightly below it, right? And you can change that offset over here. You can set this to 0 if you want to set it right at that level, or you can set it to a higher number which will move it away from that level. So when price reaches this line, you will get an alert and you can set up this exit alert to alert you when price is about to hit a level. So that is really powerful. Let's say you did not want to use a predictor level and you wanted to use a fixed risk to reward ratio instead. You can do that by setting this to risk to reward, and it will use the fixed risk to reward of 1.5 to 1, which happens to be here. Or let's say you wanted to ride out the trend. For that, you can use a trailing exit. For that, you won't have a take profit target. Instead, you will get a signal when this move is done. So for example, like let's say you went short over here, you got the signal here when this move finished. So when the candles went from red to gray, that's when this move was done, and this is where you got out. So if you want to ride the trend, you can use a trailing exit. Now, one thing this thing does really well is it always gives you an exit signal. So even if I have this set to predictive levels, I am still guaranteed an exit signal even if price action does not reach the predictive level, or if it's unable to find a predictive level, which can sometimes happen. So if a predictive level is not found, what the system is going to do is it's going to fall back to using the risk to reward ratio automatically, and it will use whatever number you've set here to for your take profit target. But let's say price does not reach this risk to reward ratio and reverses on you before then. Well, then it will automatically fall back to using the trailing exit, and you will get an exit signal just like over here. So this trade design failed. It gave you an exit signal. It said you were wrong, and price never really reached the predictive level or the risk to reward ratio that we have set up, and that's why it's a red X. So you're always guaranteed an exit signal. Now let's take a look at an example. Here I've set it to predictive level. I have a risk to reward of 1.5 to 1, but it's found a predictive level, so it's going to ignore this risk to reward, and it's looking for a level between a 1 to 1 and a 2 to 1, which happens to be here, right? So when price, if you advance this replay, when price action reaches that predictive level, we will get a signal here. We just got a signal to exit, and the trade instructions also says exit signal triggered, wait for next trade design. So essentially it's saying get out, you've reached your destination. And you can set up an alert for this. So if you wanted to see what happened, if it's going to break the level, you can decide to do that now, or you can just decide to take your profit, right? So you can set up your alert down here, and that's how you use the take profit stuff. Similarly, you can also use the system to set up break evens. So there are two systems in place for break evens. You can use the same predictive level thing. So I can ask you to find a predictive level between 0.1 to 1 and a 2 to 1. And when price action reaches whichever level it's found, it's going to ask me to move my stop to break even, like it is over here. And that's because it's trying to find the level between a 0.1 to 1 and a 2 to 1, and that happens to be the 200, which is really close by. But let's say we wanted to get a bit more out of this trade, and we wanted to uh, we feel like this thing is going to go maybe all the way up till here. So what I can do is I can set the predictive level low and high to at least target a 1.5 to 1. So I'm just asking it to find the closest level between a 1.5 to 1 and a 2 to 1, which actually happens to be this level. But I want to be defensive and I want to protect my entry when I can get at least a 1 to 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a risk to reward ratio, and I'm going to leave this to a 1 to 1. And let's visualize this. This visualization is only available when this is set to predictive levels or risk to reward ratio. Essentially, this is where my 1 to 1 is, this yellow line. And when price action reaches this yellow line, I get this break even signal, which is asking me to move my stop loss here to break even, assuming I took my entry when this trade design closed. And you can also set a slippage multiplier for this one if you had set this to a predictive level instead. But this is where a 1-to-1 is. Price action ratio 1-to-1. Now I can move my stop loss to break even. I can also set up an alert for this. And so now over here, let's say I move my stop loss to break even, and I can still wait it out to see if price action reaches that take profit. And the one nice thing now is, even though my stop loss is set to break even, I I'm not going to lose money on this trade, but this trade will always will always give you a profitable exit signal now, because this green line from the office is now up here. So even if price action does not reach that take profit, once it crosses the green line and closes, I'm going to get a signal to get out. But my entry is protected, so I'm not going to lose money on this trade now. Oh, looks like it hit our take profit, so now we got the signal instead. And that's the power of this exit management system. You can set up various scenarios in here to get alerted for when something happens, and you will get a signal when one of those things happen, for which you can set up an alert. I hope this video makes sense. I know it's a little bit much to digest. You might have to watch it a couple of times, but it can be quite powerful when used correctly. Thanks.